So Mark and I have been on this journey together for about 2.5 years. There was an idea, and it was a very grand concept. It's missionaries and missional or faith workers live in profound scarcity. They operate in profound scarcity. They're always trying to make do. And yet we have this crazy abundance in the world. And we really formed around the concept that God has provided everything we need for the Great Commission. But for some reason, we are living in profound scarcity. None of those resources make it to the field. And we didn't really know that God had a story to be told here from us, but we felt like we needed to really study. We need to learn about it. And so it was actually 3 years ago at GLS that the team began to form. And for me, I was uniquely qualified because I was unemployed and I could work for free, which was an amazing combination. And I was the only guy I knew that could fill those requirements.
You didn't have to be from prison like Eddie does.
No. Well, that's a whole other story, but maybe we should talk later. I think the thing that's interesting, though, is that there were a lot of mission organizations that saw a real need. And there are two here that we've been partnered with a lot. I'll call out Pioneers and Christar. They've helped us really form the solution, understand what it needs to look like. We felt like we needed to study it. And so, do you remember how we met?
Sort of.
Who introduced us? It was Jeff Johnson.
Oh.
Lava. Chris talks about building bridges. You guys should talk. And that's when you joined the team. We were pie in the sky, right? Why did you really feel compelled to join?
You know, for a lot of us, and I'm probably talking to a lot of you in this room, either you might have at some point thought, I wonder if I'm supposed to go to the mission field, and hopefully through good discernment, prayer, friend, you concluded that wasn't your call. If it was supposed to be your call, get out of here and go. But you didn't land there, and so a lot of us are raised with the mindset that the varsity Christians went into full-time ministry, and the JV Christians went into business to make money to give to the varsity Christians. There's a sense that we probably still have some of that mindset. And so when we talk about scarcity, I think a lot of us go to financial scarcity. Missions organizations always don't have enough resources, and by resources, a lot of times we mean financial. But what you guys were talking about was, yes, there is a financial need in the field, but there's actually a lot of needs for expertise, skills, knowledge. And what you had was this vision about how to use technology to kind of bridge that gap, back to the bridge thing, Chris. And I was compelled by that. I'm an entrepreneur, technical founder by nature. So the thought of getting early into a vision where technology could address a real need for the kingdom advancement was super compelling to me. I think that's what hooked me.
Right. You know, it's interesting because, I mean, to me, I'm an Oracle consulting guy. And I know you have a similar background from a software perspective, solution perspective. And what we saw was enormous pent-up capacity. And if you look at the supply side, if you look at the everyday believer,
right.
I'm great at finance. I'm great at whatever I'm great at. When you try to volunteer, a lot of times you get misapplied.
Right? No offense, go dig a well in Africa is not my calling. Me and tools don't get along very well. I think there's a sense of how do you give to the kingdom if you don't feel like that's the thing you have a heart to serve, but like that's not the best use of it.
By the way, there's a water engineer who's been working online
exactly.
in the Philippines that's doing amazing things.
There you go.
Right now.
Water
He loves doing that stuff.
There you go.
It's crazy. The other thing that we found is that you could take two of these and a Starlink, and you could literally talk face to face with any person in the world right now. Yeah. The ends of the earth has really changed a lot.
Yeah, I think there's so many times in history we can look back and say the technology, which, you know, like money is neutral. Technology is neutral. Money is neutral. It can be used for good or evil. In this case, your team had a vision for how to leverage technology. And like you said, some particularly important technologies that are relatively recent on the landscape to solve a problem that's existed for a long time, which is how does the stay-at-home church help the abroad church? Right. And especially in our case in America, the heavily resourced church help the less resourced.
Yeah, and I think the thing is that the technology became the glue, became the tether between things that mission organizations were already doing, because missions have changed as well.
Yeah, and there's a term in the world of technology, a lot of folks in here I know, in that network effects, right? That the idea that the more people that join a network, the more effective that network is at accomplishing its mission. And this, as you saw hopefully in the video, and we'll talk a little more about, has the potential for this in space. Like the more people that join on both sides of the connection, the more valuable this can become. So we talked a lot about why this is so cool and so valuable. And for those of you that aren't economics majors, you know, you've got a demand side and a supply side. In the world of helping fund tech startups, one of the things you look for is, well, is there demand for this? Is there market for this? What is very clear that Scott and his team are seeing is there is massive demand. So now we got to talk about the supply side. We've all developed vocational skills. Some of you might be an accountant who loves art, but you couldn't do that for a living. Maybe you can use your avocational art skills in a way here. So think of both your vocational gifting and skills and your avocational gifting and skills. And again, the spiritual gifts you have as well as the natural gifts God gave you. And I'd say the other part of this that is just so cool, I think, is there's the theology of the body in Romans, right? Like, so clearly, we all have parts to add to what's needed here. And there is needs all over the world, as you've heard from Scott. And just the thought that we can now, with technology, offer ourselves to serve the kingdom in ways beyond whatever you might do at your local church. Serve your local church, please. I think the local church is still the core of God's plan on earth, but serve the global church. This is a global thought. I mean, this should be a global thing. There should be people in all of the developed and some of the developing world with skills that can help all of these missions organizations all over the world. Let's get the word out on this. This is a great vision that God seems to be blessing already. So join us in that. Thanks.
Thank you.